Hello, hello! Pete's Pax here with Warhammer Commander Deck, regular version, number 4. This is Forces of the Imperium, which is white, blue, black, aka Esper. So let's get into this. Right. Good old Forces of the Imperium. Some people say they're the good guys. Really, they're just less awful than the other bad guys. So is the grim dark future. I think the only real group that you can say isn't just objectively terrible in some way. Probably the Tau, but even they've got some questionable stuff. So, now, as with others, we have four counters that are themed with our faction. It's pop-out token here, 8 magic-themed counters, and then 2 more tokens on the back that pop out. So those are useful for like trigger reminders, or like if you have a token that you need to represent that isn't included in the deck. We've got this really nice themed deck box. You know, for being just cheap stamped cardboard, these are surprisingly nice tuck boxes. They don't always fold up quite right, but they are nice. They do eventually square up. So, nice themed ones, especially if you've got the full set, so you can see, you know, what deck you're pulling out if you're doing that. And I think these actually can hold sleeved cards, but I'm not entirely sure. Got a nice double-sided themed life counter. This one is slightly miscut in that the view window is not fully cut out. Interesting. It's an extra little bit of material there. It's all good. We have our insert. Which has a blurb about our 2 commanders. We've got Inquisitor Greyfax and Marnius Calgar, who is the chapter master of the Ultramarines. There are several different chapters that are featured in different cards in the deck, but the main through line are Imperial Guard, which is the Astra Militarum, I believe, along with the Inquisitors, and then the Space Marines. There are some Sisters of Battle, which is the Sororitas. So I'm not quite up to speed on the newer names for things. Again, I played Warhammer mostly in the 90s and early 2000s before they switched over to these names. And there's also a little section about the color pie and what each color represents, and then why the Imperium is aligned with white, blue, black. So, very cool. So it's a slightly different take on Esper, but pretty much on theme otherwise. So let's pull in. Zoom in a little bit. White balance some so we can try to actually be able to read these. See the, there we go. So we can see the art and read everything. And let's get into Forces of the Imperium. All right, our first face commander is Inquisitor Greyfax, 1 white, blue, black for 3/3 legendary human Inquisitor with vigilance. An unquestionable wisdom. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance. And then Hunt for Heresy. 1 tap. Tap target creature and opponent controls. Investigate. So a good little utility commander. We have Marnius Calgar. 2 white, blue, black for a 3/5 legendary Astartes warrior with double strike. A Master Tactician. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. And then Chapter Master, 6, create 2/2/2 white Astartes, Astartes warrior creature tokens with vigilance. So this thing combos so easily. With a Training Ground and a National's Altar, you can draw your entire deck. And then any number of other things on top of that, you can just go infinite over and over again in a number of ways. Alright, then we have And They Shall Know No Fear. 1 and a white instant. Choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+0 and gain indestructible until end of turn. It's 1 and a white instant. Not sure if I said that or not. Which is one of the call lines about the Space Marines. Grey Knight Paragon. 4 and a white for 4/4 Astartes Knight with Flash. When Grey Knight Paragon enters the battlefield, destroy target attacking creature. If that creature is a demon, exile it instead. Alright, then we have Space Marine Scout. That is an Imperial Fist, I believe. 2 and a white for a 2/1 Astartes Scout. First strike, Vigilance, Concealed Position. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a Plains card, put onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Keep in mind, this just says Plains card, so that doesn't mean a basic Plains, that means a card with a Plains type, so this can grab duels and triomes and hideouts. It is a Space Wolf. Thunderwolf Cavalry, 4 and a white. 4 and a white for a 4/4 Astartes Warrior with First Strike, Crushing Teeth. It deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. So keep in mind that happens during combat, so anything that has regular, that doesn't have First Strike, so it attacks normally, or has double strike will be buffed in between this hitting and hitting themselves. Sicarian Infiltrator, 2 and a blue for a 1/2 artifact creature human soldier with Flash and Squad 2. Squad is as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may pay its squad cost any number of times. When this creature enters the battlefield, create that many tokens that are copies of it. We have Benediction of the Omnissiah. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. We have Sanguinary Priest. That is a Blood Angel. 3 and a black for a 2/4 Astartes Cleric with Lifelink. And Blood Chalice. Whenever another creature you control dies, Sanguinary Priest deals 1 damage to any target. Deny the Witch. 1 white, blue, black, instant. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Its controller loses life equal to the number of creatures you control. That's a nice one. That's an Imperial Psyker, I believe. Alright. That is an Imperial Fist Chaplain. Primaris Chaplain, 2 white, black for a 3/3 Astartes Cleric with Battle Cry. Whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And Rosarius, whenever Primaris Captain attacks, it gains indestructible until end of turn. Alright, not entirely sure that is. It looks like a Lehman Russ, but I'm not fully sure. But Swords to Plowshares. For white, you get an instant. Exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to its power. Oh, it's a Lehman Russ that's been converted into a Thresher. Oh, that makes so much more sense now that I see it. Okay. Lehman Russ is a type of tank, and a thresher is a piece of farm equipment used for threshing wheat and some other things. Reconnaissance mission. That is a Raven Guard scout. 2 blue enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, cycling 2. That is a Ultramarine Librarian, I believe. No, not Ultramarine. That is either a Grey Knight Librarian or a can't remember the name of them. They're black and white and have a cross as their equal-sided cross as their faction symbol. Templar? Something Templar? Black Templar. That's it. Good friend of mine used to exclusively play Black Templar. He passed a few years ago. He's a really cool guy. I miss him. But 1 white and a black instant, destroy target creature or enchantment. So those are Sisters of Battle, specifically Order of the Valorous Heart. It's Mind Stone. 2-mana artifact, tap for a colorless. 1 tap, sacrifice Mind Stone, draw a card. Skull Clamp. That is a Servitor. 1 mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/-1. Whenever an equipped creature dies, draw a card or draw 2 cards. I don't know why I keep saying draw 8 cards. Draw 2 cards. I made that mistake with the one of the other ones too. Equip 1. Alright, I made the mistake in the premium version. That's what it was. I need to wash my name out. Getting a little grimy. Soul Ring. 1 mana artifact. Taps for 2. I don't know Soul Ring by now. Good to go over it. Talisman of Dominance. That's a Catachan Warrior. 2 mana artifact. Taps for colorless. Taps for blue. Taps for black. Deals 1 damage to you. That's Vostrian, I believe. Right? Yeah. Talisman of Hierarchy. 2 mana artifact. Taps for colorless, and then taps for a white or black and deals 1 damage to you. That's Cadian. Talisman of Progress. Each of those are different subfactions of the Imperial Guard, aka Astra Militarium. Talisman of Progress. 2 mana artifact. Taps for colorless. Taps for blue or white, and deals 1 damage to you. Arcane Sanctum. Land that enters the battlefield tapped. Taps for white, blue, or black. Ash Barrens. Taps for colorless. It's basic land cycling 1. Memorial to Glory. Enters battlefield tapped. Taps for white. 3 white, tap and sacrifice it. Draw 2, 1, or create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. Oh, my brain is having a day. Arcane Signet. That is an Inquisitor's Staff. 2 mana artifact. Taps for your commander's color identity. Commander Sphere. 3 mana artifact. Taps for your commander's color identity. Sacrifice it to draw a card. Command Tower. Taps for your commander's color identity. Dismal Backwater. It is the blue-black gain land. Enters tapped, and you gain a life when it comes into play. Evolving Wilds. Tap and sacrifice it, search the library for a basic, put it into play tapped, then shuffle. Path of Ancestry. Enters the battlefield tapped. Tap for your commander's color identity. When you spend it to cast a creature spell that shares a type with your commander, scry 1. Scoured Barrens, it's the white-black gain land. Terramorphic Expanse, tap and sacrifice, search for basic land, put it in a battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Celestine, the Living Saint. 4 and a white for a 3/4, legendary creature, human warrior. I still don't understand why this isn't a human warrior angel, because that just would make more sense, but it's not. Flying and lifelink. Healing Tears. At the beginning of your end step, return target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Which is pretty sweet. Defenders of Humanity. X, 2 and a white for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, create X, 2/2 white Astartes warrior creature tokens with vigilance. X, 2 and a white, exile Defenders of Humanity. Create X, 2/2 white Astartes warrior creature tokens with vigilance. Activate only if you control no creatures and only during your turn. For the Emperor. 3 and a white, sorcery, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain vigilance and lifelink until end of turn. Space Marine Devastator. Those are definitely Dark Angels. 3 and a white for a 3/3 Astartes Warrior with Squad 2. Grav Cannon. When it enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. Triumph of St. Catherine. 4 and a white for a 5/5 human warrior with lifelink. And Presidium Protectiva. When it dies, exile it and add the top 6 cards of your library into a face-down pile. If you do, shuffle that pile and put it back on top of your library. Miracle, 1 and a white. Miracle, you can cast it for its miracle cost when you draw it if it's the first card you drew in the turn. And that's not just during your turn, that's on any turn. So if it's the first card you've drawn in a turn, you can cast it, and it gets around timing restrictions that way. Ultramarines Honor Guard. 3 and a white for 2/2 Astartes Warrior with Squad 2. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. So a scalable anthem. Vexilus Praetor. 3 and a white for a 3/4 Custodes Warrior with Flash, Vigilance, Aegis of the Emperor. Commanders you control have protection from everything. Zephyrim. 3 and a white for a 3/3 Human Warrior with Squad 2. Flying, Vigilance, Miracle, 1 and a white. Alright, we have Sister of Silence. Which is slightly misprinted. It's kind of cool. But 4 and a blue for 3/3 Human Knight. Flash, Psychic Abomination. When it enters the battlefield, counter target instant spell, sorcery spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. This one's also misprinted. Some of the blue cards are shifted ever so slightly, so there's a white line along the edge. That shouldn't be there. Actually kind of a reddish line. That's right. Vanguard Suppressor, 3 and a blue for a 3/2 Astartes Warrior with Squad 2, flying, and suppressing fire. When it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Arco Flagellant, 2 and a black for a 3/1 human with Squad 2. Can't block, and Endurant. Pay 3 life, it gains indestructible until end of turn. Primaris Eliminator. That looks like a scout. But 4 and a black for a 3/2 Astartes Warrior. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1 Executioner round, destroy target creature. Hyperfrag round, creatures target player controls get -2/-2 until end of turn. Assault Intercessor. 1 white-black for 3/2 Astartes Warrior with First Strike and Menace, and it has Chainsword. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. Belisarius Cowl. 2 white-blue for 2/4 Legendary Artifact Creature Human with Ultima Founding. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Create a 2/2 white Astartes Warrior creature token with Vigilance. And Master of Machines. Tap X untapped creatures you control. Look at the top X cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. We have Birth of the Imperium, a 3-chapter saga for 2 white, blue, black. Chapter 1, create a 2/2 white Astartes Warrior creature token with Vigilance for each opponent you have. 2, each opponent sacrifices a creature. And 3, draw 2 cards for each opponent who has fewer creatures than you. Calidus Assassin. Now there are 4 assassin cults in Warhammer 40k. There's actually some sub-cults as well. That's what they call them. They're just special groups that train assassins. I find it strange that they only added 1 of them. And the one that they added is actually the least interesting of the 4. So, but it's the Calidus Assassin. 4 blue black for a 3/3 human shapeshifter assassin. Flash and polymorphine. You may have Calidus Assassin enter the battlefield tapped as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has, when this creature enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 other target creature with the same name as this creature. Commissar Severina Rain. 1 white-black for a 2/2 legendary creature human warrior, leading from the front. Whenever this attacks, each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of other attacking creatures. In summary execution, 2, sacrifice another creature, you gain 2 life and draw a card. Company Commander. 2 white-black for a 2/4 human soldier with command section. When it enters the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 white soldier creature tokens equal to the number of opponents you have, and bring it down. Whenever company commander attacks, creatures you control gain death touch until end of turn. Cybernetica Datasmith. 1 blue-black for 0/1 artifact creature human artificer with protection from robots. Field reprogramming. Blue and tap, target player draws a card. Another target player creates a 4/4 colorless robot artifact creature token with this creature can't block. Epistolary Librarian. 2 white-blue for 3/4 Astartes Wizard with Veil of Time. Whenever this attacks, you may cast a spell with mana value X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Exterminatus. 5 white-black for sorcery. Non-land permanents your opponents control lose indestructible until end of turn. Destroy all non-land permanents. The Flesh is Weak. 2 white, blue, black. For some reason, I can't remember what faction that is. Enchantment. When this enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them are artifacts in addition to their other types. Non-artifact creatures get -1/-1. Inquisitor Eisenhorn. 2 blue-black for a 2/3 legendary creature, Human Inquisitor. You may reveal the first card you draw each turn as you draw it. Whenever you reveal an instant or sorcery card this way, create Churabil, a legendary 4/4 black demon creature token with flying. Whenever Inquisitor Eisenhorn deals combat damage to a player, investigate that many times. Naam Shai Murad, 2 white black for 3/3 legendary creature human rogue. Rogue Trader. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, you may have that player return target permanent card from their graveyard to their hand. If you do, that player chooses a permanent card in your graveyard, then you put it onto the battlefield under your control. It is a very interesting reanimator card. Sister Hospitaller, 4 white black for 3/2 human cleric with Medicus Ministerium. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain life equal to its mana value. That's a fun one. It's basically a reanimation, but you gain instead of lose. Sister Repentia, 3 white black for a 5/1 human warrior. Martyrdom. When it dies, you gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Miracle, white black. The Golden Throne, 4 mana legendary artifact. Arcane life support. If you would lose the game, instead exile the Golden Throne and your life total becomes 1. 1,000 souls die every day. Tap, sacrifice a creature at 3 mana in any combination of colors. Inquisitorial Rosette, 2 mana artifact equipment. Inquisition Agents. Whenever equipped creature attacks, create a 2/2 white Astartes Warrior creature token with Vigilance that's attacking. Then attacking creatures gain menace until end of turn. Equip 3. That's a fun one. Knight Paladin, 5 mana 6/6 artifact vehicle, trample. Rapid fire battle cannon. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent. Crew 1. Reaver Titan, 7 mana 10/10 artifact vehicle. With Void Shields, protection from mana value 3 or less. Gatling Blaster. When it attacks, it deals 5 damage to each opponent. In Crew 4. Redemptor Dreadnought is a Blood Angels Dreadnought. 5 mana 4/4 artifact creature Astartes Dreadnought. Fallen Warrior. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile a creature card from a graveyard. Trample and Plasma Incinerator. When it attacks, if a card is exiled with it, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the power of the exiled card. Thunderhawk Gunship. 6 mana 6/6 artifact vehicle with flying. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 2/2 white Astartes Warrior creature tokens with Vigilance. Whenever it attacks, attacking creatures you control gain flying until end of turn. Crew 2. Bastion Protector. 2 and a white for a 3/3 human soldier. Commander creatures you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible. Collective Effort. 1 white sorcery, escalate. Tap an untapped creature you control. You can pay this cost for each mode. You must pay this cost for each mode chosen beyond the first. Choose 1 or more. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Destroy target enchantment, or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature target player controls. Deploy to the front. 5 white sorcery. Create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of creatures on the battlefield. Entrapment Maneuver. 3 and a white instant. Target player sacrifices an attacking creature. You create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens, where X is that creature's toughness. Fell the Mighty. 4 and a white sorcery. Destroy all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. Yep. Hour of Reckoning. 4 white sorcery with Convoke. Your creatures can help cast a spell. Each creature you tap while casting a spell pays for a colorless or 1 mana of that creature's color. Destroy all non-token creatures. Launch the Fleet. 1 mana sorcery. For a white, it's a sorcery. With Strive, it costs 1 more to cast for each target beyond the first. Until end of turn, any number of target creatures gain whenever this creature attacks. Create a 1/1 white soldier creature token that's tapped and attacking. Martial Coup. X white sorcery. Create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. If X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. Utter End. 2 white black instant exile target non-land permanent. Everflowing Chalice. 0 mana artifact with multi-kicker 2. You may pay an additional 2 any number of times as you cast a spell. Everflowing Chalice enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it for each time it was kicked. Tap, add colorless for each charge counter on Everflowing Chalice. Words are hard. Choked Estuary. As it enters the battlefield, you may reveal an island or swamp from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped. Tap for a blue or black. Darkwater Catacombs. For 1 tap, add blue-black. Exotic Orchard. Tap, add 1 mana of any color a land an opponent controls could produce. Port Town. As it enters the battlefield, you may reveal a plains or island from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped. Tap, add a white or a blue. Prairie Stream. This is Plains Island. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. It is, you can get it off of fetch lands that get Plains or Island. Skycloud Expanse. 1 tap, add white-blue. Sunken Hollow. It's an island swamp. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Tranquil Cove. It's the white-blue gain land. It enters tapped. You gain a life when it comes into play. It taps for white or blue. Maneuver basics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 islands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swamps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plains. We have the etched foil version of Inquisitor Greyfax that's also extra thick. Meant to be the face commander stand-in. Then we have some 1/1 soldier tokens of various versions of Imperial Guard. 6 of those. And then we have 4 Astartes warriors that are 2/2 vigilance. And on the back, we have a clue token, Cherubel, the legendary demon. 2 robots, Arco Flagellant copy, Vanguard Suppressor copy, Sicaran Infiltrator copy, Ultramarines Honor Guard copy, Zephyrim copy, and Space Marine Devastator copy. Such good art. All right. The art on these is just fantastic. All right. Well, thank you for joining me on this adventure into the grimdark future of Warhammer 40K. As always, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. All that good stuff for the algorithm. Really helps us out. And until next time, stay awesome. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.